Genesis chapter 31, verses 1 to 55. I'm reading the New Revised Standard Version, the Green Bible. Verse 1. Now Jacob heard that the sons of Laban were saying, Jacob has taken all that was our father's. He said, he has gained all this wealth from what belonged to our father. Verse 2. And Jacob saw that Laban did not regard him as favorably as he did before. Verse 3, Then the Lord said to Jacob, Return to the land of your ancestors and to your kindred, and I will be with you. Verse 4, So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah into the field where his flock was. Verse 5, and said to them, I see that your father does not regard me as favorably as he did before, but the God of my father has been with me. Verse 6, you know that I have served your father with all my strength. Verse 7, yet your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times, but God did not permit him to harm me. Verse 8, if he said, the speckled shall be your wages, then all the flock bore speckled. And if he said, the stripe shall be your wages, then all the flock before bore stripe. Verse 9, thus God has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me. Verse 10, during the meeting of the flock, I once had a dream in which I looked up and saw that the male goats that leaped upon the flock were striped, speckled, and mottled. Verse 11, then, and the angel of God said to me in the dream, Jacob, and I said, here I am. And he said, look up and see that all the goats that leap on the flock are striped, speckled, and mottled, for I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. Verse 13, I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and made a vow to me. Now leave this land at once and return to the land of your birth. Verse 14, then Rachel and Leah answered him, is there any portion or inheritance left to us in our father's house? Are we not regarded by him as foreigners, for he has sold us and he has been using up the money given for us? Verse 16, all the property that God has taken away from our father belongs to us and to our children. Now then, do whatever God has said to you. Verse 17, so Jacob arose and set his children and his wives on camels. Verse 18, and he drove away all his livestock, all the property that he had gained, and the livestock in his possession that he had acquired in Padam Aram, to go to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. Verse 19, now Laban had gone to share his sheep, and Rachel stole her father's household gods. Verse 20, and Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean, in that he did not tell him that he intended to flee. Verse 21, so he fled with all that he had. Starting out, he crossed the Euphrates and set his face toward the hill country of Gilead. Verse 22, on the third day, Laban was told that Jacob had fled. Verse 23, so he took his kinsfolk with him and pursued him for 7 days until he caught up with him in the hill country of Gilead. Verse 24, but God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream by night and said to him, take heed that you say not a word to Jacob, either good or bad. Verse 25, Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country, and Laban with his kinsfolk camped in the hill country of Gilead. Verse 26, Laban said to Jacob, what have you done? You have deceived me and carried away my daughters like captives of the sword. Verse 27, why did you flee secretly and deceive me and not tell me? I would have sent you away with mirth and songs, with tambourine and lyre. Verse 28, and why did you not permit me to kiss my sons and my daughters farewell? What you have done is foolish. Verse 29, it is in my power to do you harm, but the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, take heed that you speak to Jacob neither good or bad. Verse 30, even though you had to go because you longed greatly for your father's house, why did you steal my gods? Verse 31, Jacob answered Laban, because I was afraid, for I thought that you would take your daughters from me by force. Verse 32, but anyone with whom you find your God shall not live. In the presence of our kinsfolk, point out what I have that is yours, and take it. Now Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen the gods. Verse 33, so Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent, and into the tent of two maids, but he did not find them. And he went out of Leah's tent and entered Rachel's. Verse 34. Now Rachel had taken the household gods and put them in the camel's saddle and sat on them. Laban felt all about in the tent, but did not find them. Verse 35. And she said to her father, let not my Lord be angry that I cannot rise before you, for the way of the women is open upon me. So he searched, but did not find the household gods. Verse 36. Then Jacob became angry and braided Laban. Jacob said to Laban, what is my offense? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? Verse 37. Although you have felt about through all my goods, what have you found of all your household goods? Sit it here before my kinsfolk and your kinsfolk, so that they may decide between us two. Verse 38. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, and have not eaten the rams of your flocks. Verse 39. That which was torn by wild beasts I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of it myself, of my hand you required it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Verse 40, it was like this with me. By day and the heat consumed me, and the cold by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. Verse 41, these 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for your two daughters, and 6 years for your flocks, and you have changed my wages 10 times. Verse 42, if the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been on my side, surely now you have sent me away empty-handed. God saw my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked you last night. Verse 43, then Laban answered and said to Jacob, the daughters are my daughters, the children are my children, the flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But what can I do today about these daughters of mine, or about their children whom they have borne? Verse 44. Come, now let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness without you and me. So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. In verse 46, and Jacob said to his kinsfolk, gather stones, and they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there by the heap. Verse 47, Laban called it Jigar Sahadota, but Jacob called it Galid. Verse 48, Laban said, this heap is a witness between you and me today. Therefore he called it Galid, and the pillar Mizpah. For he said, the Lord watch between you and me when we are absent one from the other. Verse 50, if you ill-treat my daughters, or if you take wives in addition to my daughters, though no one else is with us, remember that God is witness between you and me. Verse 55, then Laban said to Jacob, see this heap and see the pillar which I have set between you and me. Verse 52, this heap is a witness, and the pillar is a witness, that I will not pass beyond this heap to you, and you will not pass beyond this heap and this pillar to me for harm. Verse 53, may the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, and the God of their father, judge between us. So Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. And this verse 54, Jacob offered a sacrifice on the height, and called his kinsfolk to eat bread, and they ate bread and tarried all night in the hill country. Verse 55, early in the morning Laban rose up and kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and blessed them. Then he departed and returned home. Genesis chapter 31 verses 1 to 55. I'm reading the New Revised Standard Version, the Green Bible.